Hello and welcome back. You are listening to The Deep Dive.
Hello.
If you are tuning in from the UK, it is likely a Sunday morning for you.
Huh.
You might be sorting out a coffee, maybe tackling a fry-up, or just, trying to shake off the cobwebs.
A very necessary fry-up after a big Saturday night of wrestling.
We are getting straight into the thick of it today because we have a massive amount to unpack. We are looking at the aftermath of the WWE Royal Rumble 2026.
Just wrapped up.
It has just wrapped up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and to say it was a talking point would be the understatement of the century.
It certainly was a night that left a mark, wasn't it?
It really was.
For us Brits, it was actually quite a treat to have a premium live event, a PLE finish, at a reasonable hour on a Saturday night.
A rare treat indeed.
None of that staying up until 4 a.m. and then, regretting your life choices on Sunday.
Chuckles. Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
But having trolled through the sources and the reaction threads this morning, I think the convenience of the time zone is probably the only thing the fan base universally agreed on.
I think you are spot on there. Look, our mission today is very specific. We have gone through the absolute mountain of data.
It is a mountain.
The live threads on our Wrestling and our Squared Circle, the furious tweets, the detailed analysis blogs, and, well, the conspiracy theories that started popping up before the show even went off the air.
Oh, they started mid-show, some of them.
We are going to sift through that noise to extract the narrative beats that actually matter. We want to understand not just what happened, but how the fans are feeling. The anger, the joy, the confusion.
All of it.
And what this means for the road to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas.
The big one.
So let's start with a broad vibe check. I've got my stack of notes here, but based on what you've read, if you had to pin a single word on this event, what are we dealing with?
Polarizing. It's the only word that fits.
Polarizing. Okay.
When you look at the source material, there is this fascinating split. On paper, this was a stacked card. It had career-ending stakes, massive returns, huge faction warfare.
Everything you'd want from a Rumble.
Right. But the execution, that's where the friction is.
Yeah.
You have this clash between historic moments and a complete lack of atmosphere in the venue, combined with booking decisions that have half the internet cheering and the other half claiming they're canceling their subscriptions.
Standard wrestling discourse, then.
Chuckles. Perhaps a bit more volatile than usual. It feels like a boiling point.
Right. Well, let's not beat around the bush. We have to address the elephant in the room immediately.
The big one.
The main event. The men's Royal Rumble match. The head of the table, Roman Reigns, is your winner.
He is. And let's just establish the facts before we get into the emotion, because there's a lot of emotion.
A lot of it.
Roman Reigns entered the match at number 26. He lasted until the end, and he is now heading to the main event of WrestleMania.
Right, but it wasn't just that he won. It was the specific circumstances. Before he even entered the ring, the internet was losing its mind over the number 26.
Oh, completely.
I saw threads popping up in real time about this. Talk to me about the curse of 26.
Okay, so this is one of those nerdy statistical deep dives that wrestling fans absolutely love. And I love it too.
Me too.
So in the nearly 40-year history of the Royal Rumble, almost every entry number has produced a winner, or at least a runner-up.
Right.
But number 26 was a statistical black hole. Along with a few others like 4, 6, and 11, it had never produced a winner. It was seen as a cursed spot.
It's a spot where mid-carders go to die, usually. Someone like, I don't know, Dolph Ziggler comes out in the last 5 minutes.
Exactly. It's a filler spot. But fans were tracking this on spreadsheets live. They noticed that recently, under the Triple H creative regime, these statistical anomalies were being ticked off one by one.
Oh, that's interesting.
Cody Rhodes won from 15. That was a first. Jey Uso won from 20, another first. So the moment Roman's music hit in number 26, the savvy fans knew.
They knew.
They instantly clocked it. The comments were just, well, that's it then. That's the curse broken. It added this layer of inevitability before he even threw a punch.
But that inevitability is part of the problem, isn't it?
It's the core of the problem for many.
Let's talk about the fan reaction, because Marmite doesn't even cover it. You either think this is the greatest cinema ever, or you think it's absolute rubbish.
There's no middle ground.
I'm looking at some of these comments from the Reddit threads, and dread is a word that keeps coming up. People genuinely felt dread when he walked out.
That's a very strong sentiment, isn't it? Dread. Not anger, not disappointment. Dread.
Yeah.
It stems from fatigue. There's a massive segment of the audience that is just tired of the bloodline narrative dominating the main event scene.
So tired.
One source described it perfectly. I felt a pit in my stomach because I knew we were just going back to the start. They view Roman as a part-timer.
And that is a valid criticism, surely. The man shows up maybe 4 times a year,
If that.
wrestles a soft style, gets the massive pop, wins the big one, and then goes home to his private island while the rest of the roster is grinding on house shows in Hull on a Tuesday night. It feels unearned.
From a work rate perspective, yes, it feels incredibly unfair. The critique is that Roman winning feels like a waste of the Rumble match itself.
That's it.
The Rumble is supposed to be a vehicle to make a new star, or to elevate someone to that next level. Giving it to Roman Reigns, who can walk into a title match whenever he wants, simply by existing.
Just by showing up to the building.
It feels like bad resource management. Fans are saying, why did he need this? He's Roman Reigns, just book the match.
Exactly. It blocks the path for everyone else. It feels like we are stuck in this loop of Roman versus Cody or Roman versus The Rock forever.
It's the same holding pattern we were in 2 years ago. And a lot of fans are they're bored of it.
Bored and frustrated.
However, I have to play devil's advocate here because there's a very intelligent counter-argument in the sources.
Okay.
It's called the eye of the storm theory.
Go on. This sounded interesting when I skimmed it.
So if you look at the structure of WWE right now, they are in a unique transition period. In the past, say the Attitude Era of the late 90s, stars burned out fast.
Right. They had a short shelf life.
A very short one. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, they were done as full-time competitors by their early 30s. They left massive voids that had to be filled by new guys like Cena or Batista.
Right. Necessity-bred invention.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But now, modern medicine, lighter schedules, better care. The legends aren't leaving.
They're sticking around.
Randy Orton, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. These guys are in their late 30s or 40s, but they can still go at a high level. They're the current legends. So you have this bottleneck. The old guard is still active and taking up the main event spots because they are undeniably the biggest draws.
They're the names people know.
But it means the new generation, the Bron Breakkers, the Carmella Hayes types, are hitting a glass ceiling.
So the argument is that Roman won because he is simply the only viable megastar they have right now. The only one who feels big enough for a WrestleMania main event.
Essentially, yes. There is a feeling among some fans that the current product, specifically Cody Rhodes' title run, has been a bit safe, a bit vanilla.
I've seen that criticism.
One source was quite blunt, calling it boring as hell. They see Roman returning as the tribal chief to reclaim his throne as a necessary evil to inject some actual gravity back into the main event scene.
A necessary evil. I like that.
They argue that nobody else has stepped up to fill his shoes, so he has to come back.
That is depressing if true. It implies a failure of the last 2 years of building talent.
It's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
But let's look at the logic. Does he need the Rumble to get to Mania? No. But does it make sense for the story?
Narrative-wise, it cements him. It reestablishes him as the alpha.
Okay.
He didn't politic his way into the match. He outlasted 29 other men. Well, technically he entered late, but you know what I mean.
We know what you mean.
It shuts down the argument that he's gone soft. But it does leave a massive question mark for the Elimination Chamber next month. Right? If Roman is locked in, who is he facing? The sources are buzzing with the idea that the Elimination Chamber winner will determine his opponent.
Which keeps Cody Rhodes and The Rock in play.
Exactly. It's not over yet.
It's going to be a messy few months. But look, if the men's result was a war zone of opinion,
A total war zone.
the women's Rumble seems to have been a universal celebration.
Completely different vibe. Overwhelmingly positive. Liv Morgan wins the Women's Royal Rumble, and the sources are calling it a triumph of long-term storytelling.
It's a redemption arc, isn't it?
It really is. I remember reading threads 2 or 3 years ago where the consensus on Liv Morgan was harsh.
Oh, very harsh.
People said she was sloppy, that she was just there to make up the numbers, that she was, and I'm quoting a source here, garbage.
Blimey.
To go from that level of disrespect to being the absolute anchor of the division is remarkable.
She has really put the work in. With Rhea Ripley being in and out, with injuries and stories, Liv has carried the brand.
She's been the constant.
The fans recognize that graft. They know she's earned this spot. It sets up Liv versus Rhea, or maybe Liv versus Raquel Rodriguez at Mania, which has history built in.
It feels right. It feels earned. Unlike the men's winner, for many.
But it wasn't just Liv. Who else caught your eye in the analysis? The standouts.
Visually, we have to talk about Solruka.
Oh, the gear. I saw
Ugh.
screenshots of this everywhere. Describe it for the listener who hasn't seen it because it was quite something.
It was fantastic. It was this 90s throwback skater punk aesthetic.
Yeah.
Think of massive, baggy JNCO-style jeans, but stylized for wrestling
Right.
with the sort of bikini top and cool trainers. It was described as Lita-esque,
Huh?
but very modern. She looked like a video game character in the best way.
She really did. She popped off the screen.
And she can go in the ring, too.
That's the key.
That's the thing. It wasn't just a look. Her athleticism is off the charts. She was doing things that defied gravity. The fans were begging for her to win.
They really were.
She made the Final Four, and even though she didn't take the trophy, that performance did more for her stock than winning a mid-card title ever could. She
Right.
felt like a star. And she's only 21.
21. That's incredible. The future is bright there. And on the flip side, we had Lash Legend.
The powerhouse.
Ugh.
Fans were comparing her to Nia Jax, but in a very complimentary way.
In terms of dominance.
In terms of sheer presence and dominance, yes. She looked at a monster. She has a presence that you can't teach. And I also want to give a shout out to Kiana James.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually she's in the background playing the assistant or the businesswoman character, but sources were really impressed with her in-ring work here. She held her own against the top tier. She didn't look out of place at all.
That's great to hear. But it wasn't all perfect, though. We have to talk about the silence.
Ah, yes.
The library in the desert effect.
We will touch on the venue properly later, but it really hurt the Women's Rumble specifically.
It did. There were complaints about the pacing.
The match started with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, which should be huge, but the crowd was just sitting on their hands,
Nothing.
and then the ring got clogged.
Napping in the corners, I saw someone say.
Yes, that's the perfect description. At one point, there were maybe 10 or 12 women in the ring, and nobody was being eliminated. They were just leaning in corners, waiting for their cues.
It just kills the momentum.
Completely. There's no focus. And speaking of momentum killers, the Alexa Bliss elimination.
That was weird, right? I had to rewind it.
Very weird. It looked like a botch. She was eliminated very early, very unceremoniously, and the camera angle was awkward. Fans were confused.
Yeah, what just happened was the general reaction.
Was she injured? Was it a mistake? It just fell flat.
But then, a moment that woke everyone up.
The one thing that did,
Rebella.
the irony of this is delicious.
It really is.
Nikki Bella has been playing a heel recently, a villain on TV, but in Riyadh.
Yeah.
The Bella twins are royalty.
Absolute royalty.
Brie Bella came out and got one of the biggest pops reactions of the entire night. It just goes to show that in these international markets, nostalgia and star power trump whatever subtle storyline you've been running on Raw for the last 3 weeks.
Oh, completely.
They just want to see the famous people.
Which is a perfect segue to the most famous people moment of the night, which quickly turned into the most somber moment. AJ Styles versus Gunther. Career on the line.
The end of Phenomenal.
This is the heavy hitter of the deep dive.
Walk us through the finish, because the detail is important here.
So it was a hard-hitting match, as you'd expect. Brutal chops, great sequences.
Classic Gunther, classic AJ.
But the finish wasn't a pinfall. Gunther locked in a sleeper hold. AJ Styles fought it. He flailed, but he didn't tap out.
He didn't quit.
He passed out. He went out on his shield. The referee called for the bell. Gunther wins. AJ Styles is retired.
And then the aftermath. This is where the conspiracy theorists got their magnifying glasses out.
Oh, the internet went into overdrive.
What happened? AJ stood in the ring. The stadium was actually respectful here. Quiet, but a respectful quiet. He took off his gloves.
The classic
He
sign.
placed them in the center of the ring. This is the universal sign language for I am done.
But
But then, just as he was leaving, he turned back and picked them up.
why? What does it mean? What are the theories?
Tuckles. Welcome to the Conspiracy Corner. The Reddit threads exploded. There are 3 main theories here.
Okay, lay them on me.
Theory A is the straight shooter. He is done. He's 48 years old. His body hurts. He's legitimately retiring from the main roster.
Makes sense.
Maybe he goes to NXT to teach the kids. Maybe he becomes a producer. The picking up the gloves was just a moment of hesitation, a human moment of, I don't want to go, but he is going.
Which is incredibly sad, if true. A legend like AJ Styles retiring in a quiet stadium in Saudi Arabia at 8 p.m. local time feels wrong.
It feels anticlimactic.
It feels like he deserved the WrestleMania send-off with 80,000 people screaming his name.
And that feeling of wrongness fuels Theory B.
It's a work.
The one we all want to believe.
It's a storyline.
Hmm.
Fans are pointing out the legalities in storyline terms. He never signed a retirement contract on TV.
Ah, the loophole.
He just verbally said, if I lose, I'm done. In wrestling, if it's not on paper, it doesn't count. So maybe he takes a few months off and comes back saying, I never signed anything.
I desperately want Theory B to be true. I really do.
And then there's Series C, which is the Terry Funk special.
The serial unretirer.
He retires, he means it.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, he realizes he's bored and comes back for one last match. And then another. And another.
So the gloves are symbolic.
The visual of picking up the gloves suggests he's not mentally ready to quit, which leaves the door open for a return down the line.
Wow. But what about the winner, Gunther? He's the man who retired AJ Styles. He should be the ultimate villain. He should have an aura of invincibility.
He should.
But the sources aren't quite buying it, are they?
No, and this is a booking issue. Gunther is the ring general. He's supposed to be this unbeatable final boss.
Yeah, but fans are pointing out that he's been looking vulnerable lately. He tapped out to Jey Uso recently. He tapped out to AJ in the past.
That does hurt the image.
And then, in this very show, he entered the Rumble at number 30, the easiest spot, and got thrown out after 10 minutes.
It makes him look like a fluke, doesn't it? Like he beat AJ because AJ is old, not because Gunther is better.
Exactly. It undermines the massive victory he just had an hour earlier. One fan comment was brutal. German, tall, slaps, sleeper hold. That's the whole character.
Ouch.
They feel the mystique is gone. If he's the legend killer, he needs to be destroying people, not tapping out on Raw and getting dumped out of the Rumble by a mid-carder.
A very good point. Right, let's move to the undercard and the absolute chaos that was the Vision.
This was a tangled web.
This faction warfare was arguably the hottest angle going into the show. We had Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn for the WWE Championship first.
This was the workhorse match. Drew retained.
And the reaction.
Sources gave it a solid 6 out of 10. It was good, technically proficient, but it suffered from placement. It was overshadowed by the retirement before it and the Rumble after it.
The death slot, really.
The ultimate death slot.
Yeah.
I think the fans were actually relieved Sami didn't win here.
Really? Why's that?
Sami Zayn is a beloved figure. If he wins the big one, it needs to be a massive explosion of emotion.
Right, like in Montreal.
Exactly. Winning it in front of a polite, quiet crowd in Riyadh would have felt like a waste. Fans want Drew to have a dominant run. He's doing the best character work of his career right now as this bitter, obsessed champion. He shouldn't lose it yet.
Okay, that makes sense. But the real drama was in the Rumble match itself, involving the Vision faction.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Bron Breakker.
This was a shock. Bron Breakker is the future. He's young, he's fast, he's strong. He enters the Rumble, he's destroying people, looking like the favorite.
He looked incredible.
And then a masked man jumps the barricade, attacks him, and dumps him out.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Now, this is where we need to get the detective hats on. The internet investigators were working overtime on this. Who was the masked man?
The CSI WWE unit was in full force. They were analyzing screenshots frame by frame. The consensus is 99% certain.
Go on.
It was Seth Rollins.
Talk me through the evidence.
First, the build. It was a slender build, not a bodybuilder. Second, the boots. Fans identified the specific kick pads that Seth Rollins wears.
The fashionista himself.
But the smoking gun was the beard. Through the mesh of the mask, you could see a beard that was dyed a very specific peroxide blonde.
The Visionary's beard.
Exactly. There was a brief moment of confusion where someone said, "Is that Logan Paul's beard?"
Sure.
But the body type didn't match. It has to be Seth.
And what does that mean for the story?
This is huge because it sets up a non-title feud. Bron Breakker isn't going for the belt at Mania. He's going to try and murder Seth Rollins for costing him the Rumble. It pivots him into a personal blood feud.
A much better story for him right now.
A much better story. And if that wasn't enough chaos for one faction,
there's more.
We had the return of the beast. Brock Lesnar.
And he turned on the Vision. This was the moment that should have blown the roof off.
Should have.
Brock Lesnar, who has been tentatively aligned with this faction, just snapped.
He's had enough of their nonsense.
Describe the interaction with Logan Paul, because I heard it was brutal.
It was visceral. Logan Paul, to his credit, sells like a rag doll.
He really does.
Brock grabbed him and launched him across the ring with a German suplex that looked like a car crash. The look on Logan's face, that realization of, oh no, the bear is awake, was perfect.
But the commentary team, they missed it. Is that right?
This is a major complaint in the sources. The commentary team barely reacted. They were talking about something else.
Oh, joking.
You have one of the biggest stars in history turning on one of the biggest social media stars in the world, and the announcers were treating it like a wrist lock. Fans were screaming at their TVs, "Look at the ring!"
That's unforgivable production. It takes the wind out of the sails, doesn't it?
It completely deflates a massive moment. But it does set up a fascinating prospect.
Which is?
Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi.
Oh, Obafemi. We haven't given him enough flowers yet.
This man was the breakout star. He is a mountain. He had an Iron Man performance. He was in there for ages, throwing bodies around.
He looked like $1,000,000.
He stood toe-to-toe with the heavyweights. The visual of Obafemi and Brock Lesnar staring each other down.
That is money.
It's a license to print money.
Yeah.
Fans are begging for it. Big eaty men slapping meat, as the internet lovingly calls it.
Chuckles. Of course they do.
Obafemi needs to be pushed to the moon immediately. After that performance, you have to.
And you've got to give the fans that match. We've mentioned it a few times, but we have to do a deep dive on the venue itself now.
Yeah, the other elephant in the room.
The atmosphere, the library. Why is this such a recurring issue with the Saudi shows?
It is the #1 complaint in every single thread. And it's not just British snobbery about crowds. It's a genuine issue with the physics of the show.
The physics of the show, explain that.
Wrestling is a contact sport, but it's also an auditory one. When a wrestler hits a slam, the thud needs to be met with a roar. It tricks the brain into thinking the impact was harder.
It's the soundtrack of violence.
Precisely. When you have silence, the moves look like actors pretending to fight. The silence exposes the fake nature of the performance.
It just sucks the life out of it.
The Riyadh crowd is described as polite golf claps. They cheer for the entrances of the legends, John Cena, Randy Orton, Brie Bella. But the moment the bell rings and the actual wrestling starts, they go quiet.
Why is that? What's the theory?
It's cultural and logistical. A lot of the tickets are corporate. It's not necessarily the die-hard fans in the front rows. It's dignitaries and VIPs who are there to be seen.
It's a social event, not a wrestling show for them.
Exactly. It's very different from, say, Backlash in France last year, where the crowd was singing for 3 hours straight.
Oh, that was incredible.
That energy lifts a mediocre match into a good one. The Riyadh silence drags a great match down into a boring one.
And the production didn't help either. The camera work was getting some stick.
Terrible. There's a trend in WWE production to cut to the crowd for reactions, but they were doing it at the worst times.
Yeah, I saw the complaints about this.
Fans complained that they missed major eliminations, including Brock Lesnar's exit, because the camera was focused on Jey Uso yeeting in the crowd.
E.T.
Chuckles. It's his catchphrase. He waves his arms, the crowd waves back. It's fun, but you don't cut away from Brock Lesnar being eliminated to show it.
No.
It shows a complete lack of awareness from the director.
No.
Just shocking.
And briefly, the bodysuits. We always have to mention them. It's part of the Saudi show package.
It's the standard deal. The women have to cover up arms, legs, everything. It changes the visual aesthetic completely.
It does.
Some fans find it jarring, saying the wrestlers look uncomfortable or restricted. Others accept it as the tax for doing these lucrative shows. But it definitely adds to the feeling that this is a non-canon event, a sideshow, rather than a core part of the WWE universe.
A very well-paid house show, essentially.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, let's inject a bit of levity before we wrap up. Wrestling is silly. We love it because it's silly.
It's fundamentally daft, yes.
Tell me about El Grande Americano.
This was the comedy highlight. A masked wrestler enters. He's wearing a generic American luchador outfit. He moves very precisely.
Too precisely.
The fans clocked it immediately. It's Ludwig Kaiser, the serious, stern German lieutenant of Gunther.
No way.
The idea of him putting on a mask and pretending to be a high-flying American hero is just pure meta-comedy gold. It implies an entire El Grandiverse of characters.
I love that. And Mr. Iguana.
A man in a lizard mask with a little lizard puppet on his hand. Can confuse the casuals, delighted the indie wrestling nerds. It's exactly what the Rumble needs, those little palate cleansers between the violent.
You need those moments of nonsense.
You do.
So let's look at the board. The road to WrestleMania 42 is open. We are heading to Las Vegas. What do we know?
We know Roman Reigns is in the main event. The question is his opponent. The fans are predicting the Elimination Chamber will be the deciding factor.
So it's still all to play for.
Is it Cody Rhodes fighting his way back? Is it The Rock for the Ultimate Family Showdown? Or is it CM Punk? That's the mystery.
And Gunther, what's next for the legend killer?
He needs to rehabilitate his image. He's taken out AJ. I suspect he will target another veteran, maybe Rey Mysterio, maybe John Cena. He needs a decisive, violent win to wash away the memory of his Rumble elimination.
Get that menace back.
Exactly.
And Obafemi.
Strap a rocket to him. If they don't book him versus Brock Lesnar, they are leaving money on the table. It's that simple.
It feels like a strange era, doesn't it? The part-timer era isn't ending, it's just changing shape.
It is. The definition of a superstar has shifted. If you are on TV every week, you are a worker. If you show up 4 times a year, you are a star.
That's a grim thought.
It's a dangerous precedent, but it seems to be the business model for the foreseeable future.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground. From the statistical anomaly of number 26 to the forensic analysis of Seth Rollins' beard.
We've been through it all.
It was a show of highs and lows, a triumphant night for the women, a controversial night for the men, and a confusing night for AJ Styles fans.
It wasn't perfect, but it gave us plenty to chew on. And frankly, that's why we watch.
Indeed. I want to leave you with a final thought, something to mull over with your Sunday roast.
Go on.
If the crowd is the third person in the ring, if they provide the energy that makes wrestling magic, does WWE need to seriously rethink holding one of their big 4 events in a venue that treats a Royal Rumble like a tennis match? Is the money worth the damage to the product? And be honest with yourself, did AJ Styles really just retire, or are we all just puppets being worked by the masters?
I think we all know the answer to that deep down. We want to be worked.
I think we do. Right, that's us done. Go enjoy your Sunday. Try not to think about the Roman Reigns title reign lasting another 3 years.
Chuckles, try your best.
Cheers for listening.
Catch you later.
Bye for now.